In a sport obsessed with raw power, triple-digit pitch velocity, and exit velo, there was an anomaly. A man who dominated the best hitters in the world with a pitch that barely cracked 65 miles per hour. To put that in perspective, that's the speed of a car on a highway. To a major league professional, it's an insult. Everyone knew it was coming. Everyone could see the ball dancing in the air. And yet, nobody could touch it. This video isn't just about a baseball player. It's the story of a man who, after being rejected by the system, decided to master the most unpredictable craft in existence, the knuckleball. This is how Tim Wakefield became the soul of a city, not by being the strongest, but by being the most resilient. In 1988, Tim Wakefield wasn't even a pitcher. He was a first baseman. But there was a problem. He couldn't hit well enough to make it to the big league. His career seemed over before it had even begun. That's when fate shifted. Faced with the end of his dream, Wakefield made a desperate gamble. He spent the summer of 1991 trying to master the notoriously difficult knuckleball. He even admitted, "I'm probably wasting everybody's time, but I just want to be able to say I tried everything I could to make it." In a moment of desperation, he started throwing this butterfly ball he used to practice just for fun. And that's where it all began. The Pittsburgh Pirates scouts saw something no one else did, a trajectory that defied the laws of physics. That gamble, it paid off immediately and monumentally. He made his debut in 1992, and in his first full season as a pitcher, he won 15 games. That accounted for over 22% of his team's total wins. He went from failed first baseman to major league call-up in a flash. Imagine the scene. A rookie arrives and throws a ball with no rotation. It doesn't cut through the air, it dances with it. Hitters were humiliated. In one game, he threw 146 pitches, a number that would make any modern doctor scream. But Tim wasn't an ordinary athlete. He was a craftsman. You see, when a pitcher throws slow, you think, great, I have more time to react. But that extra time was actually a psychological weapon. It forced the world's most highly paid athletes, guys who are paid millions to react instinctively, to consciously wait. It fractured their carefully optimized kinetic timing. It rendered their elite training utterly irrelevant. But here's the real genius. Wakefield's entire pitching strategy was built on this extreme differential in speed. His primary pitch was the 66-mile-per-hour knuckleball, but he did occasionally throw a fastball. Now his fastball was laughably slow by MLB standards, typically in the low 70s mile-per-hour range. Any other pitcher would get absolutely rocked throwing a 72-mile-per-hour fastball, but for Wakefield, it was often completely unhittable. Why? Because its success wasn't based on its absolute speed. It was based on its speed relative to the knuckleball he had just thrown. Analysis shows this low 70s mph pitch achieved maximum efficiency when the difference was only around 7 or 8 miles per hour. The psychological defeat was complete. You weren't just humiliated by the slow main pitch, you were defeated by a secondary pitch that was still 20 miles per hour, slower than a typical MLB fastball. He didn't need to throw 95. He just needed you to forget how to hit. The humiliation Wakefield inflicted wasn't just mental, it was a direct consequence of exploiting the laws of physics. A typical 95-mile-per-hour fastball spins rapidly, creating a predictable, stabilizing effect. The knuckleball, however, is pushed with the goal of minimizing rotation, ideally, just 1 or 2 rotations by the time it reaches the plate. This lack of spin removes all conventional stabilization. Instead, its movement is left entirely to the whims of the atmosphere, what scientists call fluid dynamics. Because the pitch is so slow and its seams are exposed in a random order, the airflow around the ball constantly shifts erratically between smooth flow and chaotic, turbulent flow. This makes the force vectors acting on the ball shift constantly and unpredictably. The ball literally dances around randomly. Tracking data confirms this chaos. The direction of the knuckleball's movement is confirmed to be completely random in both magnitude and direction. It is a truly random number generator delivered at low speed. Success, however, is fragile. The problem with the knuckleball is that if it doesn't move, it becomes the easiest ball in the world to hit. It is so hard that even after initial success, he struggled and was released by the Pirates. But in 1995, Wakefield signed with the Boston Red Sox. After a few years, one particular moment really marked his career. The year is 2003, Game 7 against the New York Yankees, the fiercest rivalry in American sports. Boston had been haunted by the curse of the Bambino for 86 years. They were one inning away from finally slaying their rivals, the Yankees. Wakefield enters in the 11th inning. He's confident. He's already dominated New York twice in the series. But the pitch is a fickle mistress. He throws a hanger, a knuckleball that doesn't dance. It just sits there. In an instant, a deafening silence falls over Boston. Wakefield walked back to the clubhouse, devastated. In an interview that remains etched in fans' memories, he didn't look for excuses. He simply said, "I'm sorry, I let the team down." At 37 years old, most players would have retired on that failure. But this is where Tim Wakefield earned the eternal respect of his city. 2004 is the year of redemption, but it didn't start like a fairy tale. The Red Sox were down 3-0 against the Yankees. No team in history had ever come back from that. In Game 3, Boston was getting annihilated. The bullpen was exhausted. That's when Wakefield did something that defined his entire career. He knew he was scheduled to start the next day, but he went to his manager and said, "Use me tonight. I'll throw until my arm falls off so the other guys can rest for tomorrow." He accepted the public humiliation of losing a game that was already gone, just to give his team a 1% chance of survival. It was that silent sacrifice that paved the way for the most incredible comeback in sports history. When Boston finally won the World Series after an 86-year curse, it wasn't just a sports victory. It was the victory of Wakefield's selflessness. After the 2004 triumph, Tim Wakefield became much more than a pitcher. He became the institutional memory of the Red Sox. While stars came and went, Wakefield was the steady hand that guided the franchise through its most successful era. In 2007, his contribution was once again vital. At 40 years old, when most pitchers have long since retired, Wakefield led the team with 17 wins, helping Boston secure another division title and ultimately their second World Series in 4 years. He wasn't just eating up innings. He was a strategic weapon. His knuckleball provided such a contrast to the power pitchers in the rotation that it kept opposing hitters off balance for entire series. But his true value was in the clubhouse. He was the mentor to young stars like John Lester and Dustin Pedroia, teaching them how to handle the unique pressure of Boston. He was the selfless veteran who would move from the starting rotation to the bullpen without a single complaint, always prioritizing the team's needs over his personal stats. Tim Wakefield stayed in Boston for 17 years. He signed rolling contracts, accepting lower pay just to stay where he felt he belonged. He wasn't a mercenary, he was a neighbor. When he retired at 45, he was the oldest player in Red Sox history, but the most moving chapter was written after his playing days. In 2023, the world learned that Tim was fighting a devastating cancer. He passed away months later, followed shortly by his wife, Stacy. Look at these images. This isn't just a stadium cheering for a player. This is a community honoring a man of character. Tim Wakefield proved that you could be a legend without having the fastest ball, simply by having the strongest heart. Throughout his storied career, Wakefield amassed exactly 200 wins, a testament to his incredible endurance and the unique mastery of his craft over nearly 2 decades. He proved to be one of the most durable arms in the history of the game, taking the mound for a staggering 627 career games. His impact on the Boston franchise is etched in the record books, where he sits third all-time in Red Sox wins, trailing only the legendary Cy Young and Roger Clemens. He proved that the knuckleball was the ultimate career extender, allowing him to avoid the wear and tear of hard throwers. Wakefield stood as a defiant constant in an era obsessed with increasing velocity, proving that slowness could utterly dismantle power. He leveraged the laws of aerodynamics to become a two-time World Series champion. But his legacy leaves us with one unanswerable question. When a batter stepped into the box against him, were they truly defeated by the man? Or were they defeated by the pure, uncontrollable, and beautiful laws of random chance? Tim Wakefield proved that greatness doesn't need to roar with velocity to be felt. Perhaps we can all learn from his journey, to accept that we won't always be the fastest, and to embrace the unpredictable trajectories of our own lives. Because in the end, people don't remember the statistics, they remember the character you showed and how you served those around you. His 66-mile-per-hour pitch humiliated everyone, from the batters to his own catchers. But it also won him 2 championships and cemented his legacy. What do you think is the biggest challenge of the knuckleball? The psychological warfare on the batter or the difficulty for the catcher? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want more stories about the great anomalies and legendary players in baseball history, hit that like and subscribe button. Thanks for watching.